Business Leader of the Year award to Anand Mahindra. Mr. Mahindra, when you came up with the slogan or the tagline of Rise for your group, you're talking about yourself or the country or an aspirational generation or all of the above?
It was for all of the above, Vikram. And what we found today, the insight that we had was that people are looking for different kinds of companies in the world. And frankly, we had this insight well before Occupy Wall Street. What we sensed was a fundamental lack of trust, an erosion of trust in the corporate world. And what we understood was that branding was no longer just about your product and service and what could be done with it, but do you trust that company? Will you buy its products and services because you believe in them? And I think that's when we decided we had to undergo a radical reinvention of ourselves. So I think we had to rise first ourselves before we went out with that sermon. But thanks to the people we have, I think we've done an admirable job of it. And I believe we're well on the way to the journey of beginning to believe in ourselves and then asking others to believe in us.
So was this a particularly landmark year? You overtake Tata Motors, you get what you said is a pat on the back from an elder brother.
It was. Ratan is one of the most admired leaders here. And frankly, I think when we passed that milestone, we didn't even know it until Ratan pointed it out. And that's the best way to recognize a milestone, when your peers and indeed the people you admire stop and recognize you. I think that was a very special moment for us, yes. Prannoy?
Well, Anand, first of all, really very hearty congratulations for an extremely well-deserved award. You know, the question I'd like to ask you is, people often talk about Indian business going abroad, and sometimes it's expressed negatively, as if they're actually getting away from a very difficult business environment. We in the government have often said that, we need to expand India's global corporate footprint outside. So all said and done, do you find that expanding your global footprint outside actually changes the way you look at your own company?
You made it difficult for me to answer, Montek, because you've, in a sense, already planted the seed of my answer in your question. I have said often before that you're not safe at home unless you win abroad. There is no place to hide. Because if you simply think you're in Fortress India, that fortress crumbled in '91. And today, if you simply sit and wait to be put to siege by brand leaders from around the world who bring global scale, global branding, global R&D to your doorstep, well, you're not going to be able to fight them until you leverage that global scale and global technology and knowledge. And that's what we are doing. To me, going abroad is not simply a matter of adventurousness. It's a matter of survival.
But is it, if I could just take Montek's question forward, is it partly, when you're going abroad and when you see others going abroad, is it partly also because the environment here is becoming difficult? And as Indian companies have become bigger, they feel it's sometimes easier to do business abroad than it is to do it here.
Running away is never a successful strategy. You cannot simply go abroad because you have a fear of the environment here. Time and again, countries like South Korea and Japan have proven that you grow strong globally when you have a strong base in India. And I think what the Planning Commission, despite Prannoy's wishes for its extinction, what the Planning Commission ought to do is to be helping to create, in a legitimate manner, create global champions. And if you allow me to ask Montek a question later, I would like to ask him about that.
Why don't you ask right now?
Why don't you ask the question right now? As many as you want.
Catch him off guard.
Montek, you're doing a great job planning hardware, planning the deployment of real resources. What concerns me is it's the mindset of our leaders that need a little planning. And let me tell you what I mean. We seem to ask businessmen to build global champions of themselves, to go abroad, to become manufacturing champions. And yet, the policies here are focused on short-termism, on bridging deficit gaps. If you ask me to become somebody who's going to export and manufacture, but your sole goal in India is to find ways to bridge deficits or to plug or to find taxes which will fill your coffers the next year, you're not helping to create global champions. You're not creating policies which allow the creation of scale over here in order to go abroad. Somebody needs to join those dots for them. Why can't the Planning Commission do that? Why can't you plan and help them join those dots?
Well, I mean, I'm touched by the confidence you have that if we plan something, the whole government will move around to implement it. But, you know, I think you're touching a very important point. We have to remember that right now, we are going through a short-term downturn. And, you know, when you have a short-term downturn, I mean, all efforts get focused on doing the short-term fix. But I think the purpose of any kind of planning exercise is that you're always keeping in mind what is the long-term framework for industry. And I think that's very much there in the thinking of the government and of the plan. And I think what we need is a much broader appreciation of what is it that's going to make India move forward. And you need an involvement, not the notion of top-down planning is absurd. I mean, it's not as if we lay down a blueprint and somebody has to just go and implement it. I think you need a much broader discussion, a much greater involvement, not just of the central government, but the state governments. You know, one of the key things to remember is this is a private sector-led economy, because 75% of the investment is in the private sector. The environment which is created, which is going to determine whether the private sector is good or not, performs well or not, is not just an environment created by the central government, although that's very important. State governments are also important. So actually, this is something that industry, the press, all of us have to move the system so that the political class at every level understands the importance of this.
Can I ask you something which I asked and comes also a follow-up from your mentor, your uncle, what he spoke about. Like him, for me, you epitomize ethics and integrity. And you're probably proud to have missed a lot of opportunities which you could have got by dispensing with those basic principles. But he said it's getting tougher and tougher to function in India today. He lived in a pretty tough time with red tape, licenses. Do you think it's tougher for you? And how do you stick to this ethic, these principles, and still grow and make us proud? How do you do that?
Pranav, he clearly is very distressed when he sees a situation of a deteriorating model environment. But don't forget, he also was optimistic and said that if you believe in what you do and stick to your conviction, things become easier. And to say the same thing with a different story, I remember when I came back after business school in the early 80s, and the situation was even worse because you combined a poor moral fabric along with the license Raj. You couldn't move. There was no room to maneuver for those who were ethical. And I remember I was very frustrated, and I spoke to my father-in-law, who was alive at that time, and I said, you know, why the hell did I come back here? Because we don't seem to understand the rules of the game. And he made a very simple but prescient statement. He said, Anand, don't ever violate what the legacy is of your businesses. In the long run, you will have a lower cost of doing business. And he put it down into costing terminology. And he's right. Because when you don't give it, nobody asks for the bribe. And eventually, I am proud to say we have a lower cost of doing business.
One last, sorry, Vikram, then that's wonderful. That's just wonderful to hear that. A very close friend of mine, Ranjan Bakshi, bought one of your Scorpios 8 years ago. And he has only one thing to say about them. He's not had to change even an indicator light. He doesn't believe in servicing. He's one of those maverick types. He's not changed a bulb, let alone any other part of your car. It just keeps going. So don't you want to build in obsolescence and get people to buy?
Well, I was holding my breath for a moment when you were talking about that. I should have known, since you're giving me an award, you'd be polite tonight. So
it's a fact.
But there was the old Timex slogan. Remember the Timex watches?
Yes.
And they had a wonderful slogan. It says, takes a licking but keeps on ticking.
Right.
I think that sort of
That's it.
symbolizes what Pawan has brought to our vehicles.
But
as
all
well.
this is just your hobby, your real true love. And I want to know when you're going to actually implement that. When are you going to direct your first movie?
Well, I was just talking to John about a job interview while you interrupted us and asked me to come on the stage. So, John, if you can let me direct a movie, then my life's ambition will have been realized. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mahindra. Thank you.